Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw, and tonight I'm joined by Record Sports Laurel and Hardy. Keith Jackson.
Very good.
See, when he says that hello, it's like, remember the wee Gregor Fisher character in the Naked Video, the wee Highland guy that read the news? Hello!
The Highland News. Greg Wallace last night, Gregor Fisher tonight.
I know. Listen, I should say for everyone watching, they're all lovely before we start. They're all lovely. We're talking about football and high-fiving and that. And then they show their true colours.
This is the song they do when they're flashing up the Maharis tweed.
Right, great. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Plenty to talk about tonight, guys, aside from Greg Wallace or anyone else like that. Scott, I understand. Oh, sorry, before we do that, Keith, some breaking news coming out regarding Rangers and Malcolm Offord.
Yeah, this was the guy who had apparently been targeted as the preferred choice to take over as a permanent chairman and allow John Gilligan to step back. John Gilligan, who's obviously been in the position in a caretaker capacity for a few months now. I don't know how much breaking news this is. I think, Scott, the rumours were circulating, have been circulating for a while, that this deal was far from certain to be sealed. I think what we understand from the last few hours is that sources inside Rangers are now confirming that it's unlikely to happen. And by the way, it's such a Rangers story.
Aye, just as another blow to them if he was the main guy. I mean, it did feel, I think last week, obviously, they announced Niels Coppin, then Patrick Stewart, and then you just felt, no, there was going to be the next one, it was going to be the chairman, and when that didn't happen, as you say, there was various kind of rumours going around last week that Malcolm Offord had kind of, no, we don't know the details, but it kind of almost stepped back from, getting in there and taking that job for whatever reason.
It's becoming a bit of a recurring theme, isn't it? That's the issue. That's what I'm sure will alarm fans and shareholders alike. A couple of days before the AGM, it all points to a real mess behind the scenes. They just can't seem to get anything right. Now, Patrick Stewart has been confirmed, is meant to start work on the 16th of December. I think there's probably members of that Rangers hierarchy right now just keeping their fingers crossed that doesn't find some glitch at the 11th hour, because, that would bring them back to the sort of calamity that they were facing at the start of this season when they didn't even have a stadium to play in. It just doesn't look good, does it? It just paints a horrible picture.
It's just a worry if they need to go back to the drawing board again.
Yeah. Because it's taken them this long to get to this point.
And I suppose in that sense you have to feel for John Gilligan a wee bit, because he's took on the mantle of going and making these appointments. And it did feel when the names came out, Patrick Stewart, Malcolm Offord, Coppin's a bit different because he's already in the building. But they felt like, on paper, certainly it looked like two men of substance that they were going. It was something different. It was names that hadn't been mentioned before. It felt as if, right, Gilligan's went and got his men now. And I spoke on here last week to Daniel about what Rangers need in terms of leadership and all that, but they need alignment in the club. They need alignment from the board, the chief exec, to the technical director, to the manager. And it did feel as if when, as I say, these names started coming out, right, they're making proper appointments here. This is the alignment beginning. And if Malcolm Offord has pulled out or it's not happening, which looks to be the case, that's got to be a blow to them. Yeah,
and if not take the job, why not? And that would be the thing that I would find a little bit concerning, and that's the reason that I've written a column online today, which will be in tomorrow's paper ahead of the AGM, saying that it's a real pity that Patrick Stewart's not going to front that AGM up, because he needs to speak.
Yeah.
He needs to feel the answers. He needs to send out a message that he's the man in authority. And the reason that I bring this up is that a guy of the experience and the substance of Malcolm O'Ford there, what is it that's made him have second thoughts? And the reason that that could be so important is that you're right, Scott, that there was this sort of a feeling this could be a real fresh page, a recalibration of how the decision-making process is run in the command centre at Rangers Football Club. If you've got fresh, independent thinkers coming into this with a real heavy professional background, and they're able to distance themselves from some of the things that go on around Rangers and say, no, this is the way to go, and lead the board, lead the people that are putting the money in, and tell them, you're making a mistake, this is the way to run a football club. I would be concerned that maybe people are being approached for these roles and then thinking, well, am I here just to do what you're telling me to do, or am I in here because you trust in my ability to tell you what to do? I don't know. I'm speculating right now.
Everything that we've read about the Patrick Stewart appointment suggests that he's coming in to run the show. I mean, he is going to.
Well, but Scott, and this is what I've written today. This is the crucial point. It's one thing saying that, because we were told that Stuart Robertson was running the show.
Yeah.
We all knew that wasn't the case. We were told that James Bisgrove was a best in class chief executive, and anybody that met the guy for 2 minutes knew that wasn't the case. So yes, we are told that Patrick Stewart will come in here and be given the mandate and the authority to charge and drive the thing, and that people will fall into line behind him. But this is a problem with this board, and it has been for some time. There's too many egos in there. There's too many people that think they know better than everybody else, and they're not willing to be told. That was the very reason that Stuart Robertson was appointed in the first place. Stuart, sit down, shut up. We'll give you your lunch money when we think you deserve it. In the meantime, you do exactly what we tell you to do. Rangers don't need another one of them. And that's why I think it would have been better for Patrick Stewart to stand up in front of a room of shareholders and supporters and front up the questions and give everybody a little indication of what he's all about. I believe he is a man of substance. He certainly comes to Glasgow with a great reputation, but I think there's going to be this element of mistrust. The fans want something new. The fans don't want more of the same. They want to believe that appointments are getting made now of top quality, top level people who will be given control and given the keys and told, you run the thing, because you know what? We know we can't do it. 10 years of experience has taught us that. So we need somebody who can advise us and lead us.
And I think, do you not think it'd been better for Patrick Stewart to come in now or sooner?
It's a worry for me that he's not.
This start date, I know we were laughing about it last week. This kind of, no, it's got nothing, that had nothing to do with me. Start date, that's what I'm calling it, because, and right away there was a negative. As soon as that start date was announced, there was a negative vibe.
The guy's bomb-proof for himself.
He's just waiting to after the Spurs in the Celtic game.
Plus, the thing is as well, Scott, that we said last week too, is that say they lose 5-0 to Tottenham and 5-0 in the cup final, nobody in their right mind is going to turn to Patrick Stewart and say, that was your fault. I mean, it just seems so
counterintuitive. But also, how difficult is it for him to come out and speak at that point and talk about strategy and direction
and how everything's going to be great, jam tomorrow?
You may as well do it just now.
Get in front of it right now.
Exactly, get in first.
So that's a concern. It's a concern that these appointments, this is not the first time they've thought they've come close to making an executive appointment or a boardroom appointment, which has fallen away at the 11th hour. Why is that? That would be the question. And if I was sitting down at the AGM, I'd be probably putting that question. Why is it that you guys seem to have this incredible ability to take people right to the brink of joining, for them then to take a different approach to it at the 11th hour? That would be a concern. That has to be a concern.
Let me hit you with a couple of fan comments we've got, guys. John Keeks on Facebook saying, honestly, what is going on at my club? How could they not know he wasn't going to take the job? It's as desperate as it gets. And Rangers easy okay. Actually makes a good or an interesting point here. He will speak, though, Keith, on the 16th of December, where no doubt he'll be speaking about replacing the manager. I'm glad Patrick Stewart isn't there on Thursday because the board deserve real scrutiny. I just hope there's no questions about the pies not being hot or the walk from the car park being too long. I mean, is that a point, Keith, that maybe...
I don't know.
Do they ever get real scrutiny?
They never do. They never do. And plus the fact, what is the point in this? Listen, Rangers fans realise that every time panto season comes along, it's time for a Rangers AGM. I don't think it's any coincidence. They turn up, it's a boo, process. As you said, people talk about pies. That we've had gazebos back in the day, the Easdales. It's become a traditional kind of end of year farce.
Yeah.
And this year in particular, I'm struggling to see what I get it. Put the board under. You've got a caretaker chairman that is trying to find his own replacement. He's only in there, and he doesn't deserve much stick.
No,
because John Gilligan, in his 70s, has been shoehorned into a crisis situation and has been doing nothing but trying to hold everything together, refresh the boardroom, find appointments. I don't think anybody can rightfully point a finger, an accusatory finger at John Gilligan and say, you're the reason for this. No. He's not. He's been left facing, an absolute shambles, and he's tried manfully to do whatever he can at his late stage in life to hold it all together. I think he deserves a standing ovation. I don't think he deserves a room full of abuse. Listen, I would go as far as to say John Bennett. I know the Rangers fans will say, oh, here we go, because the reputation that John Bennett's been left with. But I think it's grossly unfair. I think that he was, after some really difficult periods with Dave King and Douglas Park in charge, John Bennett was actually getting away fine. He was actually making changes. He was cutting into the wastage. He was modernising. He was moving the club forward. He was actually doing a pretty good job. And by the way, let's not forget how much of his own money he put into the thing to stabilise it and take Rangers forward. And he was totally and utterly blindsided by James Bisgrove.
Yeah, that was his biggest.
And after that, he was done, because his credibility as a leader of men at that point had vanished. And he was never going to see that out. The stadium wasn't open. The Rangers fans were getting kicked out in the street. There was never going to be any way back for John Bennett at that point. And ultimately, it's impacting his health so badly that he's been medically advised to take himself out. So I actually get incredible levels of empathy for John Bennett. But I know that the Rangers fans will see him as the pantomime villain here because he had a role in it. Well, he did have a role in it. His role was that he actually trusted a guy that he shouldn't have trusted. Mm-hmm. So they're all contributing factors, but it all adds up to a big steaming pile of something that doesn't smell very good. And that, I'm afraid, is the context which will surround this AGM. But are the people there to be held to account? Not really. You've got, John Gilligan, who has to front this up on his own, basically. There won't be a chief executive there. There will be no director of football there. The only guy that, Rangers fans might want to hold to account at the AGM might be the manager. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to solve any of the issues that are going on above his head. So I don't know where you start with it. I really don't. And do you know what? I for the life of me, if Patrick Stewart, and I'm sure that he does believe that he's coming in to sort things out and kick a few arses and align Rangers and get them moving in the right direction again. I'm sure that he believes he's capable of doing that as well, although I surely wouldn't be taking this job. I just don't understand why he hasn't made himself available for this AGM, because I think he really needs to get, as Scott said, he needs to get in front of this. It's only getting worse. The longer you wait, the more things unravel, the bigger mess that you've got to try and sort out.
We've got plenty to talk about in tonight's show, guys. Time's getting away from us, but I need to hit you with these comments that have been sent in.
Time's getting away from us. We've only just started.
We've got so much more, Keith. It's a packed show. Johnny refers to my opening. Laurel and Hardy. That's an insult to Laurel and Hardy. Yes, Johnny. Yes, Johnny.
I like you block viewers, no?
We've also had this in from Euro pal Gianni.
I know which one you are, by the way.
Steady. That's unfair.
Euro pal
Right
Keith
with you, Ollie.
Gianni. Hi guys, great to see Keith back in action. The show wasn't the same without him, as he was swanning about Europe with his missus. Gianni, you're spot on. More holidays than Judith Chalmers.
I took some time off. I actually didn't get away, much to my regret. I need to get away in the sunshine.
And just to finish on Rangers, though, Scott, you were at the Rangers press conference today. Philip Clement. I mean, I was going to say I feel bad for Philip Clement, but another really silly comment today about Celtic's Nicholas Kuhn and comparing his players to the Celtic winger.
Listen, I don't know if it's a silly comment, Daniel. It's just one that was probably a bit ill-advised in the current situation. I don't think we spoke about it off air. I don't think any Rangers manager should really be advised to mention Celtic or mention Celtic's players when they're so far ahead. But listen, the point he was making was semi-valid. No, Nicholas Kuhn, when he came in at Celtic, didn't hit the ground running, didn't set the head on fire, and Celtic fans weren't convinced. No, he wasn't in the team for a while. People were questioning whether he could cut it at Celtic, but fast forward 6 months, he's a key player, scoring in the Champions League. Clement was just trying to make the point that he's got some new attacking players in the team this season. I'm assuming he's talking about the likes of Czerny and Bayrami and Egerman. And the reason he got onto it was he was being quizzed quite rightly on his team's lack of goals this season. And he was just making the point, look, these guys do need to, they probably do need a bit of time, and you might see a big improvement in the next 6 months, but you don't really want to be talking about Celtic's players. And you don't, and to be honest, Daniel, the biggest thing, you shouldn't be making excuses about the lack of goals. We spoke about it before we came in. I mean, the stats in terms of Rangers' goal return this season
it's criminal.
Is alarming. I mean, it's just there's no getting away for that. And at times, Clement's trying to be open and honest, and you need to kind of admire that. But at times, he'd be as well just saying, look, it's no good enough. It has to improve. We're working on it, but we need more goals.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what about today is really the road for him to be going down. What about Nicholas Kuhn?
No,
I mean, what he's actually saying is, and he actually said the best player from across the city, or words to that effect. So he's saying that guy over there that's so much better than anything that I've got in my dressing room. Well, he wasn't very good when he came. You know the guy that's now better than Dyson Maida. Yeah, the guy that we have such a problem with. It was just it smacks of a man who, I keep saying it, drowning man syndrome. He's out his depth here, and I think I said to you, Scott, when I heard him say it, I said, do you know the problem is he just doesn't get it. And you said you walked away from the press conference thinking the exact same thing. And if I'm thinking that and you're thinking that, every single Rangers fan, every single Celtic fan out there will be thinking the exact same thing.
Because in terms of the goals, it's criminal. I mean, there's loads of stats flying about, but I mean, 3 away league goals this season, one of which is an OG. I mean, Callum McGregor scored 6 goals himself for Celtic this season. He's their anchor man. He's a defensive midfielder. It's miles away from being good enough. And I know, and again, this is something that Clement does, and he probably shouldn't. He was flagging up the fact that they've shown they're capable by getting 6 against Ross County and 4 against Bucharest.
He needs to stop that. He should never have started that. But that's now 2 or 3 times he's referred to a 6-0 win over Ross County as proof that he's moving in the right direction. That is proof that they're moving in the wrong direction if you continue to cling to that.
Rangers fans aren't daft. They know what they're watching. I actually thought the weekend, in terms of their away performances, there was a slight improvement, but that's a very low bar we're dealing with at the moment. But in terms of the goals,
what was the chances
created, I don't know. I thought there's a bit more about that. I think Hadji coming in gives
Hadji
a bit
coming
more
in,
cohesion.
exactly right. That was the improvement. The guy that he wouldn't let anywhere near the first team for how many months? You're spot on. That was the only improvement of the weekend. Hadji can play the number 10 position, and he can drop into the little pockets, and he can knit things together in a way that the other players that he's been trying to shoehorn into that position haven't been able to do because it's not instinctive to him. That's the one improvement, Scott. And that's a guy that he was desperate to keep outside his first team environment. Just saying.
When I called it silly, that's what I meant. Just, for the Rangers manager to go, look, listen, it's going to be all right soon because see that guy playing for Celtic, he's class. I just thought that's a mad...
The guy that's going to terrorise us at Hampden in a couple of weeks, guys.
But aside from any, Rangers fans want results now. They want performances now. I mean, it goes back to Clement's comment in the summer. I keep banging on about how we'll be okay come October, November, December. I mean, all firm managers can't live like that. Do you know what I mean? The supporters just won't accept that, irrespective of how bad a state the club's in. Rangers fans want to see performances, they want to see improvement, they want to see goals, they want to see victories now. They don't want to have to wait. Quite frankly, they've waited long enough this season. So as I said at the start, I think the manager would be better served. There's nothing wrong with just almost holding your hands up and saying, look, I get it, there's not been enough goals. That has to get better. We're working on it. And hopefully we can improve on that in the next transfer window.
From one Old Firm manager to another, Brendan Rodgers was talking today ahead of Aberdeen against Celtic at Pittodrie tomorrow night. He was mentioning his first time in charge at Celtic and was saying that the target back then was always a treble. And today he said, these players I have now can write their own history. That group was brilliant for me, but the challenge is to create more historical moments as we go along. It took time to get going, but it's been a really high level the past couple of months, and we need to keep going. I mean, at the minute, at the Scottish Cup draw last night, you wouldn't really bet against Celtic losing any game at the minute, never mind losing a competition.
One thing I would say, you're right, Scottish Cup draw last night, that could have been a bit kinder. Because you've seen what Kilmarnock did to Celtic in the League Cup last season. Granted, Celtic have come on leaps and bounces then, and Kilmarnock have been struggling to get any momentum this year. But that could have been actually kinder to them. But I still don't think it will give any genuine cause for Celtic concern. What I found interesting about that is, Daniel, and we spoke about this previously, Brendan Rodgers keeps these little targets between him and his players, but he hands them out at the start of every season. Mm-hmm. I am convinced that at the start of this season, one of his targets for these players was to try and achieve over 100 league points. I actually suspect that one of the targets might be another season, an invincible season, domestically. And, we're speaking 24 hours ahead of Celtic running out at Pittodrie for a test, a real test. But at this minute in time, what we've seen with our own eyes would lend you to believe that as huge and ambitious as that target might be, it might not be beyond this Celtic side. Another undefeated domestic season.
Because the thing, you're looking at this Pittodrie game, and as you say, going with the league table, and that this should be Celtic's kind of one of their biggest tests.
But Aberdeen are now just starting.
You're looking at Aberdeen now. Celtic have been able to. Brendan Rodgers has the luxury of resting over half a team on Saturday to prepare for the Aberdeen game, whereas Aberdeen are going full pelt at Tynecastle, trying to get a draw, losing their goalkeeper who's injured for having to play the backup goalkeeper tomorrow night. You're now looking at this Pittodrie game thinking, is it really going to be a test for Celtic? I can't see anything other than another convincing Celtic win. I think they'll turn up there fresh, vibrant, players coming back in, looking fit, ready to go. And Aberdeen, as you say, have just begun to toil a wee bit.
And it was always going to happen to Aberdeen. We said that. We said Aberdeen, it's not unrealistic to say they can stay in Celtic's coattails in terms of can they split the Old Firm, can they finish second. What was completely unrealistic was to suspect or to believe that they would be able to match Celtic stride for stride.
Because
so that's not going to happen.
If they've had bad like terrible results. They've got a draw at Easter Road and a draw
Yeah.
at Tynecastle.
Yeah.
They'd be decent results for a normal
And,
Aberdeen team.
and in context of what they should be aiming to achieve this season, which is second place, they are not bad results. Not brilliant, not bad.
Yeah.
They are having they're finding it difficult now, and that was always going to be the case. And Scott might be right. Celtic, I think Celtic kind of felt as if they wanted to lay down a marker in the semi-final against Aberdeen, and they did that. I think you might find that they're every bit as keen to do the same again. Just to say to them, look, sit down, behave. You're not going to come near us. And they might be of a mind to send out another emphatic message at Pittodrie. Wouldn't surprise me.
And I think psychologically as well, I'm sure I mentioned it after the the cup tie at Hampden, psychologically what that did to the Aberdeen players, because at that point they're thinking we can take on anybody. Here we're flying, we're rolling on, and then bang. 6.
Yeah.
I think that goes into the minds of Aberdeen players getting into this game tomorrow night. We've been playing really well.
It's scar tissue, isn't it?
We know what this team can do to us. I think put all of that together, it's hard to see anything other than another big win for Celtic tomorrow night. And getting back to the original point, I don't think it is out with the realms of possibility that they could go unbeaten this season. And it's incredible that we're saying that. I think because
so there you go. There's the targets. Break the 100 points. There'll probably be a goals target in there somewhere in terms of how many they want to score, how many they want to make sure they don't lose. 3 domestic trophies will be in there.
Qualifying for Europe.
And obviously this, making the playoff stages of the Champions League, and then this potential undefeated season domestically. Right now they're all in play, and they're better than all in play. Actually, that they're starting to look not odds on, but certainly achievable.
Chris McGlinchey watching on Facebook raises a good point. He says, Kuhn wasn't a starter due to health issues. He's always been a decent player. It's a huge difference from not being a starter because he was poor. I think that is a good point, to be fair.
Listen, that's a point, but I'm not sure. I know he had problems, obviously. I think it was his teeth and stuff like that when he came in, but I think you're actually underplaying the role Rodgers has played in Kuhn's progression.
Yeah.
I think over the summer he's got a hold of him. I think he's changed parts of his game. You very rarely now see Nicholas Kuhn getting the ball out wide and knocking it back away or coming inside and being negative. Every time he's going at his man. 9 times out of 10 he's going at his man, or he's driving infield with a purpose, which is exactly what Rodgers wants for his wide players. So I think the manager's had a massive influence on him over the summer, and you've seen the results of that.
I think there's a bit of both, isn't there? I think it's a fair point that Kuhn had lost a lot of weight. He looked lightweight when he came. He didn't look that confident. We were told he was an absolute flying machine. There wasn't a great deal of sign of that either. But yes, tactically, the improvements in his game, what he's trying to do, his decision making, that's got Brendan's magic dust sprinkled all over it, doesn't it? So that's what he does. Kuhn deserves great praise for his role in it. But I suspect that you're right, Scott, that comes down to a manager who knows how to improve players.
Another player that I would suggest has been improved under Brendan Rodgers this season is Luke McCowan. And Rodgers lavished praise on his midfielder today, talked about him potentially being a Scotland player. But do you guys think he'll start tomorrow night?
I wouldn't surprise me at all. I think it's a toss-up between him and Paulo Bernardo.
So Engels, we talked about it, Keith, but you were saying Engels out the picture for the moment?
Not out the picture. No, everybody's in the picture.
From the starting lineup, I mean, tomorrow.
I think that this game in particular might suit Luke McCowan. And I think he's full of confidence. And I don't know if you would say that he's come in and already he's become a far better player just because he's working with Brendan Rodgers. There will be improvements, of course there will be. But he was a fine player at Dundee, and he was making real impact and matches at this level. Scoring goals, creating chances, dominating areas at midfield. But you know, this is the luxury that Brendan Rodgers has got. There's 3 or 4 players now that can all come into the starting lineup in the central areas, and there's going to be no real drop off in quality. If it was me for tomorrow night, I might be quite interested in giving Luke McCowan a run out, seeing how he does for 90 minutes.
I need to hold my hands up a wee bit with McCowan, because I think I said when that transfer was being talked about, I think I said, as much as I really liked him as a player at Dundee, I wondered whether he could make that step to Celtic and he could take that jump and not just get to Celtic, but then go and actually impact
Establish
games.
himself.
I thought, no, he might just not have that in him. But listen, I was there at the game on Saturday when he started, and he's definitely influencing games. I mean, as you say, Rodgers would have had an impact on him, but in such a short space of time to get that level.
He's just a good quality player that is thriving by playing around better players.
100%.
As I say, Brendan Rodgers talked about him in potential Scotland terms, but one midfielder that he's going to be up against for playing time for Scotland is Lewis Ferguson. And we've got an interesting little tidbit, is that the right phrase, Keith?
Yeah.
Regarding the man?
There's some rumours coming out of Italy today, and they're interesting. But how do I put this? Right, the rumour goes that Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who is now in a senior advisory role at AC Milan, has told the board that they have to go and sign him in January, if possible. If not, at the end of the season. Now, it's interesting that this story's coming out at this time, because I think a year or so ago, before he got injured, there were about 4 or 5 clubs, and we wrote the story at this end, saying that it included AC Milan and Juventus, a couple of others at that time. Now, from my sources in Italy today, what I'm hearing is, look, it's no great surprise. Nobody over here is in the least bit surprised to in fact, they are mentioning Lewis Ferguson as a name on AC Milan's list. Obviously, it becomes a little bit sexier when you're saying that Zlatan has personally identified it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Zlatan has got involved. As far as I'm aware, there's been no talks between Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Lewis Ferguson's advisors. I don't believe at this minute in time the AC Milan have approached Bologna to seek to express an interest in doing anything in January. But everybody you speak to in Italy says, look, they are crying out for a number 8/10 attacking midfield player, and Lewis Ferguson has been on the list now since long before he got injured. My information was that just before he got injured, he was, within touching distance of sealing a deal with Juventus. His old boss from Bologna is now at Juve and has stayed in touch with him and is checking on his welfare. And I'm sure he's just doing that because he's a lovely guy. But listen, see by the end of this season, if not in January, I think January, he's only just come back. What has he played? 1 game or something?
One start, I think.
One start.
Yeah. So, I think it's a watching brief now. I think you just wait and see how's he doing. Give him another 6 months at Bologna. I fully expect that the likes of Zlatan and Juve will be on the phone at the end of the season, and the two of them might have to end up in a bit of a bidding war, which is exciting times. Another Scottish player absolutely thriving.
They just signed an extension, didn't they, his contract recently?
I think that was to financially protect Bologna.
100%.
Bologna know.
They must know there's bids coming.
Bologna know that their ex-manager wants to take him to Juve, and it's an open secret.
That's what I was going to say to you. You're talking about AC Milan. You'd be amazed if whatever club comes in for him, Thiago Motta isn't just going to sit back and let that happen, given his relationship with the player, given what he knows about him, having worked with him for those couple of years at Bologna. So I think Juve will still I don't know the financial situation at Juve, then that's the only...
I think the AC Milan are also financially troubled at the minute. There's not a lot of money floating about, and Bologna are well within the rights to ask for big bucks, so it'll be interesting. But the Italian teams always seem to find a way of financing deals, don't they?
Yeah.
And getting it done. I think there has been speculation, heavy speculation in Bologna, and fears in Bologna that he might be lured away to the English Premier League. But my information is he believes he has unfinished business. He's thoroughly relishing playing in Serie A. He's loving it. He's loving the whole experience of it. He's thriving at that level. Bear in mind, it's only 12 months ago he was crowned as the best number 8 in Italian football, in the top flight of Italian football. Okay, granted, he's now got a problem because Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore have turned up in the league. But how good is that for Scottish football?
I know, that's what I was going to say. How mad will it be when Ferguson gets back into the Scotland team, whether it's with Bologna or Juve or Milan, they've like a 3-man Serie A midfield for Scotland. It's just
that's what I was going to say. I mean, it's amazing to have Juve and AC Milan chasing you, probably the 2 biggest teams in Italy, but it'd be great if Napoli went in for him. An all-Scotland midfield.
Well, do you know the interesting thing? Napoli's current director of football was at Juventus when Juventus were very close to signing Lewis Ferguson first time around. So I think he will certainly have an interest, but I think the way that that Napoli play, they've got a very set style. There's only really room for one attacking goal scoring midfielder in it, and Scott McTominay's kind of got. And now they actually went to sign McTominay after Lewis Ferguson's injury, so there's an interest there.
I can't wait for Napoli to sign him. The trio of Scots in midfield win Serie A together, and Steve Clark still doesn't play the field.
Kenny McLean's got another cap.
What the cow playing?
Sorry, that was funny. I think that might be it, guys. Is there anything else you want to raise before we end Tuesday night's Hotline Live?
No, I'd like to go and make my dinner.
There you go. Excellent. Thank you very much for everyone watching at home. Thanks for all your comments. We really appreciate it. Laurel and Scott and Keith, thanks very much. And we'll be back to do it all again tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.